Well, hello, I'm Kelly Shutnick. I'm a marketing strategist and an author coach, and I am here today with Dan Kenner. I've been doing these interviews on YouTube really to help authors learn what other authors are doing as far as their book marketing. And this is just a casual conversation to learn just about Dan, about your experience. And I love the term casual when it comes to you because not only are you an author, but you're also the host of the Casual Author podcast, which is just perfect. What a great name for your podcast. So Dan, I want to start with you telling me about your books and about your podcast, The Casual Author, just so we can get to know a little bit about you.
Absolutely, yeah. So many of you probably haven't heard of me because obviously I'm an indie author trying to get our names out there, right? I write fiction, so generally fantasy and sci-fi. So epic fantasy is where I like to sit, but I also specifically write clean fantasy. So I distinguish that because not all epic fantasy is considered clean, which is totally fine. Obviously, there's a niche for everything, but it is my preference. So therefore, audiences of any age, really, which is really fun. But the podcast, the origin of that was I was recognizing for myself and many other authors how isolating it can feel when you feel like nobody else is experiencing what I'm experiencing. I'm trying to learn from other podcasts and whatnot. But I also recognize that I am a busy person, as probably a majority of authors are, unless they're full time. And so I'm a little bit forced, not in a bad way, but forced to be casual with my approach to authoring. And so I just wanted to have a little bit of a positive spin on being an author, having tons of other responsibilities, but making it work in a casual way and being satisfied with it. So that was the reason for starting it.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, before we hit record, we were talking about the fact that that consistency can be so hard. It's hard to do things all the time like you're supposed to do when it comes to marketing, but really the bottom line or the main thing is that you're just continuing to move things forward, even if you can't be 100% consistent all the time, because it's just hard to do. You and I met on TikTok, and I typically try to do at least one TikTok every day. But the last couple weeks, I was very sick, and I was like, I had no energy, I had no voice, and it was just like, you know what? I'm not going to be hard on myself. Like, I just am not going to get a TikTok out for a few days, and that's okay, right? It's
Hmm.
like we just got to do what we can. Um, so I want to come back to your busyness. I will come back to that in a second because you have a very interesting story. But um, your book. So I tell me about how many books have you published now? Is it five?
Five, correct. Yeah,
Five.
four of them are full-length novels, and then there's a novella.
Okay. And I noticed that for your series, you had a co-author. Is that right?
No, that was actually just some
Wha-
configuration issues that I had with when I was,
Oh,
when you're a new author and you're still trying to figure things out. I listed my editor on
gotcha.
there. She's my editor, and a lot of people indicated, no, that means that's a co-author. I have since been trying to pull that back, but Amazon's not being very helpful in that.
Gotcha. Okay. I was going to ask you about that experience because I didn't know that when I saw it on Amazon. Of course, that's what I
Mhm.
assumed. And okay, so not a co-author, an
Mm-mm.
editor whose name got added in there. I get
Correct. I
that.
was just me misclicking some things.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. Um, so your busyness. So you are a father of, is it five kids that you have?
Correct. Almost six. So our
Almost
sixth
six.
is due in December. Yep.
Okay. So you're gonna have six kids, full-time job, side gig as an author, which is no joke. I mean, you've published a lot of books. And you're a homesteader. I'm probably missing other details, but how do you have time also for your casual author podcast? I know we said sometimes it's not consistent because it's hard to have the time all the time to devote to that. But maybe I should ask it, why do you do the podcast on top of that?
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of that comes down to, so there's a couple of things. As an author, making connections is going to be one of the most important things that you can do with other authors, with readers, and whatnot. And I was just struggling with it via other means, such as social media. I'm not great at social media. We can get into that later.
We will.
Social media is this weird thing for me that it just feels so impersonal. It doesn't feel real to me. And so I wanted a way to actually have real conversations with people. And so for me, it's a combination of satisfaction for myself, right? I do it for myself to meet people and have these really engaging conversations, but also to bring those conversations to other people who might also be feeling the same way. A way to connect with other authors, a way to connect with me in part, to feel like they're not alone in their journeys for authoring. And so a couple times I thought maybe I should just cut out the podcast because I could save time, I could write more books. But then there's a part of me that's like, nah, you really like doing that. And I know that there's a lot of people that enjoy listening to that. And so I just don't want to give it up, at least not right now. I think I'll reevaluate every 3 to 6 months and make sure it's still good for me. But for me, it's worth it. Does it mean that I don't write 5,000 words a day? Yes, but I don't think that writing 5,000 words a day is really going to get me books out any faster, to be honest. The editing process is, for me,
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of your podcast, I was a guest on your podcast a few weeks back. And so as a marketer, I've been involved in many podcasts, and I think you did an amazing job as a host. I'm embarrassed to be on the other side of this
Oh, no.
conversation this time, being the host, because you are really, really good. So I saw that in what you did. I have a number of episodes that I wrote down that I want to listen to. You've had some great guests on that I want to hear those conversations. So if for people watching this, I hope they'll also check out The Casual Author, and I will include the link to it in the show notes. But yeah, so you said that you don't love social media, which I just don't believe you, because we met on TikTok. You do such a great job on TikTok, and one of the things you've told me is that you have experienced success in your book marketing on TikTok. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that and like what you have about, as of today, about 9,000 followers on TikTok, which is no joke. I mean, that
Mhm.
shows that you are connecting with people on there. Why did you start using TikTok in the first place for book marketing?
Ironically, I only started it for their video editing capabilities. So I
Really?
I was I was on Instagram, and it was back, I want to say middle of 2020. I'm trying to remember when Reels became a thing on Instagram. And I leaned heavily into Reels on Instagram because I was just being a goof and I was just having fun. And I wasn't getting tons of engagement, but there were a lot of people that thought I was funny. Was funny. I don't know if that's still true. But the Reels functionality was just taking me ages. And when you don't have an hour to edit a single, 30-second video, I needed to come up with a better way. There may have already been a better way in Reels. I don't know. I didn't try to learn because I saw TikTok, joined it, and could make the same video in 5 to 10 minutes and thought, whoa, this is so much easier. I'm just going to take my videos from TikTok, use that, download it, and then upload it to Instagram. And I did that for about 2 weeks until one of my videos on TikTok, just like out of nowhere, got, I think, 200,000 views. And I sold probably 80 books in one day. And I was like,
Wow.
what just happened? I'd never experienced that before. And then I realized, okay, TikTok must be a thing. I can't believe that I just sold that many books. Now, do I have that many videos and that many book sales per month? No. But I can track a majority of my current sales to TikTok. And so I recognize that with consistency, I am overall getting more sales than I was getting from Instagram. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
stuck. It
Yeah.
just happened. And I'm like, I can't not because of it.
Well, so I think your videos are so fun. You do very funny videos at times, and you talk about, like, so I know a lot about your personal, not your personal life, but like your life, right? Like your kids and the fact that you are a homesteader. You talk about these things, and then you also do a great job of, you do a lot of videos explaining your genre. So you talk about the fact that it's clean, which you never know on TikTok. There's
Mhm.
a lot of books that you come across
Spice.
that aren't, yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
spicy books,
We'll
yeah.
call it that.
Uh, um, and yeah, but then you just do some really, really fun things, and it's just fun to connect with you. Um, So, I mean, you maybe kind of already answered my question, but my next question was going to be, does TikTok sell books? And in your experience, you have had that experience. So you had the one where you had 80 sales in the one day. Have you continued to have moments like that? I mean, I'm sure not every day is going to be an 80 book sales day, but do you see certain posts perform better? Can you kind of tell that in your sales?
So yes and no. I have continued to have instances like that. They are fewer and far between, further between. I think that's the right way to say that. Than I would prefer. Obviously, you can't force the algorithm, the mighty algorithm, to show your videos to more people. And I'm not a content marketer, and there's a lot of people who can come up with amazing content and consistently get higher views. That's something that admittedly I need to work on. However, if I spend not a lot of time creating videos, there are random ones that just happen to get picked up. And is there identifiable content that is interesting and popular to people? Probably, but I haven't been great at identifying that. Still, I get those videos. I think I sold last week. My books happened to be on sale. I had just released the third book, and one of my videos got, I think, 30,000 views. So not a lot, but I sold about 200 books in 2 days. They were 99 cents, which I think lent to that many sales. But still, it's one of those things where, as long as I'm consistent and trying to get funny or interesting content out there, then it's better than not trying.
Hmm.
Right? If I do nothing, nothing will happen.
Right, right, exactly. So having a series, is that part of your strategy, like having a discount on, I don't know the pricing of your three books in the series, but do you have kind of a pricing strategy as far as like the first one being lower priced than the other two, or running kind of like discounts or like free book periods or anything like
Mhm.
that? Tell me
I try
about
to do
that.
nine. I try to do 99-cent discount periods fairly regularly. Worst
Okay.
least amount once every quarter, if not more. Honestly, it's not really. I'm not really losing out, because at the end of the day, I'm still just trying to get readers. It's not really about the money at this very moment. I'm just trying to find the readers, get those reviews. I'm trying to spur some popularity for my books as best as I can. So I do actually have the first book and the second book priced lower than the third book, for a couple of reasons. They do get longer and bigger each as the series goes on. So
Sure.
logically, it makes sense to charge a little bit more. But also, I figure if I price the first book lower and provide the prequel for free, hopefully that's drawing in the readers who are a little more willing to take a chance on a new author that they've never heard of, and pay a little less, maybe $1.99 for an ebook, rather than, I think I had it priced at $4.99 at the beginning, and I wasn't seeing as many sales. Rightly so, right? Because I'm a new author. People aren't necessarily willing to take a risk and pay $5 for a book for someone they've
Sure.
never heard before.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Uh, so on your TikToks, you mentioned that you're not a content marketer. Um, how do you approach your TikToks? I mean, I mentioned some that I've seen from you. I mentioned, you talk about your books a little bit, but how do you approach, um, you know, what types of videos you want to put out there, like coming up with ideas? I think that's like the constant struggle on TikTok is like, what do I do today, right? Like, so how do you approach that?
I don't know that you're going to be as impressed with my answer as you might want to be. But honestly, it really just depends on the moment and the time, the experiences that I'm going through. I found that when I overthink TikTok, I do worse. When I'm overthinking the videos and worrying that people aren't going to care, or maybe that's not relatable content, the videos I make often take longer to make and get fewer views. Whereas when I come and I see something funny, or I'm experiencing something, like, for example, I had a situation a couple days ago with a reviewer that wanted me to pay them like $40 to review my book on Instagram. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so I'd send a funny message back saying, sure, you can definitely buy my book anywhere and review it. Feel free. I'm not stopping you. And I just threw that up there. And that happened to be a video which a lot of people related to. I spent very little time on it, and it was in the moment relatable. This is not advice that I'm giving to you unless you're a person who worries too much and or doesn't have a lot of time. Keep in mind that um, if you're one of those people that's trying to create a really big following, big business off of TikTok, and you have the time for it, perhaps you can cater your marketing and plan your content a little bit better. But for someone who has to be casual, I don't have time to lean into planning my content out for months at a time like some people do. So I just approach it as hey, this is casual. This is what's going on in my head at the moment. It's the real me, which I think is where I've gathered those followers. I think people see it and they realize, oh, this is Dan. He's just a funny guy. This is just who he is.
Yeah.
And as I'm more authentic, I think more people are drawn to the videos that I'm making because it's just me.
But I think that's exactly right. So you said, that maybe I wouldn't be so impressed by your answer, but that is like what really works well on TikTok. Like that is the beauty of TikTok, is that people like that authenticity, and they like getting to know you. And I think that's hard for a lot of authors, is the putting themselves out there and being themselves. They feel like they have to be perfect all the time, and actually, like, TikTok loves to see people's imperfections and just seeing who they really are. So um, I wanted to talk, before I continue on TikTok, I wanted to talk about that comment you made about the book the book review request that you got, because that reminded me, and I feel bad. I had an author ask me about this and I forgot to follow up. So I'm going to do that after this. But she had asked me, like, she said she signed up for an Instagram account and immediately got something like 10 different reviewers reached out to her. And they were all like anywhere from like $20 to $50 that they were saying, hey, pay me this and I'll do a review for your book. And, my first reaction is like, not cool, don't do it. But then, she said some of them had like 200,000 followers. So you've had the same experience. And I just want your like just honest take on that. I mean, it sounds like you were like, no, thank you. Like, I'm not going to do that. Right. But, for an author who's getting that request, like what should they be thinking about that? Like, is it a scam? Is it legit? Like, if they pay that money, are they going to get a review? Like, what have you heard from other authors about those experiences?
So I can give you my real experience because I have actually paid a couple of them. So back when I was a new author, joined Instagram, same thing happened to me. And at first I was like, well, this is really cool. There are a couple people. I ignored most of them because frankly, at the time, there wasn't a lot of money. There's not a lot of money now. But and I thought, if I'm going to put some money into this, I want to make sure that they have an appropriate amount of followers. They've got this great aesthetic. And so I think I paid two. And they're differing experiences with either. So take this with a grain of salt. With the one that had, I think she had somewhere like 500,000. She had tons of followers on Instagram, which is like sure, I'll spend, I think, $30 to have this individual read and review my book. She didn't read it. There's no way. Her review was very long, and it was mostly kind of elements from the back of the book description. And I was like, and she did it within probably 48 hours of me giving the book to her. And I write pretty long books. I'm like, yes, if you can read fast, sure. It's within the realm of possibility that this person read the book, but I doubt it. So the review is not very heartfelt. It was 5 stars. It is what it is. And the post didn't get very much engagement on Instagram, just not a lot at all. I saw pretty much nothing from it. And I thought, that was kind of a waste of money. I think the one thing that you need to remember is these people that have really big followings and they post about books all the time, they're not doing it in a salesy way. They're not doing it in a way to get people to buy books. Most people that I've seen that follow those people on Instagram are just going to look at pretty pictures and enjoy the content because they really like the visual aspects of it. I don't think a lot of them are looking to buy. Yeah. And so I saw no sales from it. It was cool. It was a beautiful post. And she did the review like she promised. But then the other experience I had, this guy I paid to do it. He had a smaller following, but he seemed really genuine. Same thing, didn't get a lot of followers or didn't get a lot of sales or engagement on his post, but he ended up becoming a super fan of my books. So it was a little bit unexpected. And he still is like, I love your books. He's like, I can't believe that you're an independent author. When I read your books, it didn't feel like independent publishing at all. Like, your books are amazing. And so he messages me constantly wanting me to, like, he wants to help me promote it as best as he can. He just wants my books to do really well. And I don't think he expected it either. And so, he'll message me about like, there's this newspaper article in India that you can, pay this much for, and here you can send it here for free. It's just been really helpful. So I don't think that's always going to be your experience, though. You have to keep in mind that these people are just trying to make money themselves.
Right. Right.
And so they want to make money from you as an author. They're not really
Yeah.
invested in helping you sell your books.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're doing it in a malicious way. It's just intent, right?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to make money, and that's their goal, is to make money. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've been so interested in that because I am a book reviewer. I have a book blog. I've had it for years, and I do reviews. And authors reach out to me. I get an author every day who reaches out to me to ask me to read and review their book, and I can't accept every one of them. And at
mm,
times, I'm frustrated because I will spend a lot of time on a book that in the end I didn't really enjoy, and I'm doing it for free. So I have, I've had that like pull of like, should I charge for reviews? But at the same time, like a lot of the um, authors often will talk about the fact that you shouldn't pay for a review, that those aren't legit. So I'm like walking this line of like, trying to make sure that I'm spending time on the books that I do enjoy and that I can legitimately give good reviews for. But also, it's not that I want to discourage authors from coming to me, but at the same time, it's like I only have so much time, right? Like, so anyway, so I'm very curious about those people who are doing that kind of thing. And it seems like probably most of them are not legit and not worth taking them up on their offer. But yeah, I do want to follow up with that author who asked me because I do think it's important for her to learn more about that. So I will share your experience.
well,
Um,
I just want to add a little bit on that, because I'm not, and I hope I didn't frame it that way. I don't think that it's bad necessarily to go with him. I think it comes down to, it's a business transaction. And you have to keep in mind that, there are marketing companies, literal marketing companies, that you can pay to help
yeah,
market your book via various methods. And so in your case, for example, I'm not really familiar with your reviewing process, but what you're paying for, and you need to make sure you remember this, what you're paying for is the marketing, not necessarily the
sure.
review
Yeah,
itself, right?
yeah, yeah,
And so, because one, you can't guarantee your reviews will be positive. If it's honest, which it should
right.
be, then you may be paying for a bad review. But if the other parts of it, right, if you know that the person works for a magazine or a reputable source, or their blog gets lots of views, or you find that the marketing portion of it is worth the cost, absolutely, I would 100% pay
Yeah,
for something like that. The thing with Instagram is it's not proven very
yeah,
well. It's really
yeah,
not. And if that's the only marketing and it's not going anywhere else, that's not really worth paying for.
yeah,
So in your case, I mean, I don't know, it may be worth paying for, depending on the views and the span, the reach
yeah.
of where you're putting your posts and your reviews. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that take on it. And that maybe that helps convince me a little bit. I'm just like, I just feel just kind of torn about the issue. But that is the worst. You mentioned, that the review has to be honest, right? And I really, when I get a book that I just hate, I will just
I
stop
know.
reading it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. Like I don't want to give a negative review. So my default will be like, so if somebody paid me and then I had to post a review, that would be bad. I would feel terrible for it. But I do try to be honest. Like, so there's a lot of books that I'll read that, if I can't give it at least 3 stars, I won't finish it. But if I can give it 3 stars at least, I will do that. And I'll give
Mhm.
constructive criticism, because I think it's important for authors to hear that, even if it's really hard for me to give that. um, I think it is important. So anyway, I do think for authors, getting reviews for your book is super important. Also, there are a lot of free ways you can get reviews, so you don't have to pay for them. But like you said, Dan, that was a great take on it. Some reviewers have like a really big following, and they're going to post it, on their own blog, and go out to their email list, they'll go on Goodreads, Amazon, all the things. You want to make sure you're getting all of that coverage
Mhm.
for sure. Um, okay, that was my side note conversation there, but back to TikTok for a second. So, um, you had this great post that got 200,000 views and 80 sales, and you kind of saw the power of TikTok. Um, is it easy? Like, is it just that it's easy for you? Like, you just did a really good job because it's just natural for you?
TikTok in general, or that specific video?
Well, TikTok in general, like. So the heart of the question there is like, is it really just like you're just good at it? Like not, it's not for everyone. Like authors can't do it, or like, did you have to learn? Like was there things that
Hmm,
you learned from your experience? Did you, does practice make perfect with TikTok? Do you get better over time? Like what advice would you give to a new author that's on the
sure.
platform?
I've actually had a couple people reach out to me, which I find interesting because of all of the authors that I'm connected with, I definitely don't have the most followers. But I think perhaps they recognize the relatability of my videos and they're kind of seeking um, help or guidance on where they can begin because they're newer. The one thing I always tell people is don't be afraid of mean people or just the application in general. Because you have to keep in mind that there's going to be mean people. There's going to be naysayers for one, and
Hmm.
you don't actually have to read any of their comments. You can just ignore them. Granted, I haven't really run into a lot of that, perhaps because I haven't had too many viral videos. But you just need to be who you are, show your face, I think is the one thing. There's a lot of
Hmm.
people who don't want to show their face. And I tell them, like, you don't have to, but I hope you don't expect to get a lot of engagement because
Yeah.
we're a human race. We thrive on relationship. Regardless of how introverted you think you are, everyone has to have that human connection. When you have an account that does not have their faces shown or their personality involved in it, just feels kind of cold. I don't think a lot of people like to read that, even if it's very helpful content. So I
Yeah.
just try to tell people, don't overthink it for one, because you never know which videos are going to go viral. Um, and two, really just make videos, right? As consistently as you can. Like, don't beat yourself up if you can't make 5 videos a day, but just random thoughts, your life as you're going about it. Don't overthink it. Just be who you are, and you'll be surprised how easy it is, one, to put content out because you're just coming up with what life is, and two, that it feels comfortable for you over time. But you
Yeah.
just got to get started. A lot of people are afraid to get started.
Yeah. Yeah, you and I have talked about this a little bit before. For me, starting out it was just like a little bit horrifying, right? Like putting myself
Mm-hmm.
out there and I was like, oh my gosh, like when you hit post, you're just like and I know a lot of people in my personal life who came across my TikTok and they were like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, I don't know. And you just feel kind of embarrassed, like, why am I doing this? I don't know. But and now I have people all the time who are just like, they think that I'm just natural. Not that I'm so great. I have
Mm-hmm.
way less followers than you do, but like they think that I'm just like naturally comfortable in the camera. And I'm like, oh no, like it took a
Mm.
long time for me to get to that point where, I mean, even now, like sometimes I'll retake a video like 10 times before I'm
Yeah.
satisfied with it, and it's just like
Yep.
stupid, just finish it. Um, but and I see authors when they first start out, sometimes their videos are like, not that great, but then I see them start to like learn, maybe from their own experiences, maybe because they're consuming more content on the platform and learning what they like when other people do it, or maybe they're like just putting themselves out there a little bit more, or getting a little more comfortable. I don't know, but I see their content improving over time. So I think the more you practice, the better you can get at it. And sometimes that means putting out some stuff that later you look back and you're maybe slightly embarrassed about it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
People, you just gotta do it. That's like the only way I can say it. Um, in your experience, like, so the types of books that you write and the people that are on the platform, do you think that certain genres are a better fit for TikTok than others?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say for sure because I think you can find your demographic anywhere on TikTok. The trick is
Mhm.
actually finding them. So, the reason I say that is spice is popular all around. I mean, I think it's the biggest money maker in publishing ever now. That I think it's just a massive market of publishing. I'm not going to write that, and I recognize that. And so there's actually a
Yeah.
pretty big portion of TikTok that wants that wants spice. Um, and I wasn't really indicating when I first got on TikTok that my stuff does not have that. So I don't know if I was just hitting the wrong people because TikTok didn't know who to show it to. They're just kind of showing it to random people, and a lot of those people wanted spice, and I don't have that. But the more I leaned into, this isn't spice filled, this is what's in it, right? There's adventure, there's some fighting, there's intrigue, there's lots of twists, and it's for audiences of all ages. Over time, TikTok has learned who to show it to, and they're there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to find them. I think generally you're going to hit spice talk, because that's just a lot of book talk is that.
Yeah.
So just train it so that it knows either not to show it to those people, or that when it's shown to spice talk, they know who you are. In fact, I get a lot of comments of, this is not the book for me. They'll say, it's great that I saw your video and you're funny, but I'm not interested in your book. And then what that does is open up a dialogue of, well, do you have kids? Do you have teenagers? They're like, oh yeah, I've got teenagers that like to read books, and I don't want them reading spice, so this is a great option for them. Just keep in mind that through people who aren't your audience, you might find people who are.
Yeah.
Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so I will admit I have read more spicy books since I have been on TikTok than I ever did before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure if I read a spicy book before TikTok, but yes,
Yeah.
I come across all these books now that I'm like, oh, that looks good. But also I am a big nonfiction reader, so I've had a hard time kind of finding not like finding my audience, but like figuring out how to talk about nonfiction
Mm.
books on TikTok, because there's actually a lot of like, I don't know, shade that gets put on nonfiction readers and
That's true.
nonfiction books on Book Talk. So like I'm like, okay, how do I talk about this in a way that like engages my audience, but also helps me find the right audience, So it's kind of a challenge, but you do, over time, you do learn that those people are out there. There are nonfiction
Mm-hmm.
readers on the platform. There are, but it isn't like right in your face right away, like you said. Some of the other stuff might be more in your face right away, but like over time, you start to make the right connections.
Well, and I would also say, don't be afraid. There is shade thrown on nonfiction books, but I can guarantee you that all of the people, or a majority of people on TikTok, have read a nonfiction book. But when you call it something like self-help or a self-learning book, people are like, I don't need self-help. I think it's like an ego thing, because
Yeah,
like I don't prefer nonfiction, but I'm constantly listening to podcasts, which are pretty much nonfiction books in pieces, right? A lot
yeah,
of people are seeking the learning. And so don't label yourself nonfiction self-help. Just say, like, are you wanting to answer X questions? Like, talk about the content of your book in an interesting way. And I guarantee their filter of, I don't read self-help books, won't even get triggered. It's just it's an ego thing. I'm pretty sure
yeah,
that's what it is. But you can
yeah.
definitely find a place with nonfiction on TikTok. Easy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I agree. And in any genre, I mean,
Yeah,
for that matter. Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, Deanne, to wrap us up, I would love to hear from you. What does literary success look like for you? You are, like we mentioned earlier, you have a full-time job, you have a family, you're doing your writing and book marketing, all of that on the side. And I think that's the case for a lot of authors out there.
Mm.
All of the authors that I've connected with on TikTok, that is definitely the case. They're doing that. They're putting themselves out there on TikTok to promote their books. The becoming a full-time author may be the goal, or maybe not. But what for you? What does literary success look like? What when would you say, I feel like I've made it?
That's a really interesting question. When I'm making $1 million in book sales. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's not it. Totally kidding. For me, it's a lot more rudimentary than that. It sounds really silly, but like the little giddy child in me just comes out. I would like to be someone's favorite author. That's it. And that's challenging, right? Because that's going to require somewhat of a backlist of books, right? Because to have a favorite author, you need to have things to like. I would just like to be someone's favorite author, have them talk about how they're always excited for my books to come out, have them engage with me. And whether it's one or more people, I just want to be someone's favorite author. For me, that would be so exciting, because what that would mean is the content is good, and there are other people out there who I might be their favorite author someday. It would be very encouraging. So that's my first goal, is just to be someone's favorite author.
I love it. I love that. I have also written a book. We've talked about that. I wrote a book on how to market your book on TikTok.
Mhm.
And I feel like for me, it's just like helping people. Like I don't do a ton to promote my book. I just, it's there, whatever, and it kind of sells. Like like again, I'm not really doing much, but it sells. And I love that people are learning from that. Like I love talking about marketing on TikTok, as you can tell. It's just, I enjoy it, and I love helping authors learn new ways to promote their books, and especially getting out of their comfort zone. So yeah, I mean, I think authors have different goals, and of course, every author would love to be a full-time. Well, I shouldn't say every author. A lot of authors would love to become a full-time author, to be able to leave their job, but success looks different for a lot of people, and so I love yours. I have teenage kids, so maybe they'll all be getting Dan Kenner books for Christmas this year, and you may have some new fans who you're
New
their favorite. I don't know
fans?
how to say that, but yeah,
I don't know either.
you know what I mean.
I do.
Um,
That would be awesome.
yeah, yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for doing this interview with me. I hope it's helpful for authors. I think the more that authors can learn from one another, what's worked, what new things they can try. I think that's the biggest key for authors is just trying new things and being casual, right? Like doing what we
Hmm.
can when we can with what we have and not being too
Absolutely.
hard on ourselves. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.